Okay, so this is the replacement background project. This is my object. It needs to be three-dimensional. You don't want something real flat. You want something that would stand on a table, a desk, the floor, not something that would hang against a wall. And notice this has some depth to it. It was shot in a gallery, and it's the light's coming from the right-hand side, so you've got shadow on one side. So that's going to indicate for later what direction we're going to want to have the shadow fall. Take a look at the shadow that's being created here. It's kind of soft all the way around, not real harsh. This is not an ideal background. The floor is really ugly. The backdrop isn't bad. But what we need to do is make a selection of this object. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Command J on my keyboard to make a duplicate copy of the background layer, layer 0. It says layer 0 rather than background because it's not locked. The lock isn't here. And that's okay. So what I'm going to do to start this selection is I'm going to use something that people hate, the magic wand tool. Some people call it the tragic wand. But it works really well for something like this because notice that top area where it's gray. It's just a perfect place to use this tool. So up in my options bar, I've got a tolerance of 9, and anti-alias is turned on in contiguous. The default tolerance is 32, and what the tolerance is where you click, that it picks light colors that many steps away from it. So through trial and error, I settled on 9 to be a good start point. So I just click out here in the gray area, and that's the first part of my selection. To add to the selection, I'm going to hold the Shift key on my keyboard, and I'm just going to kind of move through here, like so. And I'm going to come down here. Notice it starts to hop into the image down here or into the piece of art. So I'm just going to hit Command Z to get rid of that. I'm going to come up here and click that corner in. Do you notice these few little stragglers out here? I can clean those up really easily by going up to Select and going down to Modify and to Smooth. And when you get to Smooth, you want to type in a radius of 5 pixels, just across the board, 5 pixels for these little guys, and hit OK. And notice they're gone. So that's the first part of the selection that I'm making. It's with the Magic Wand tool. Next up, I'm going to hop over to the Polygonal Lasso tool because that draws straight edges, and this is a straight edge and this is a straight edge, so it makes sense to do that over here. So I'm going to add to the selection by holding the Shift key once again. I'm going to start at the top, click, draw my line down to about here, click. I'm going to go all the way over here, all the way up here, and double click and it shoots back to the beginning. Notice I just cleaned up this area to the left as well. I'm going to do the same thing over here, hold the Shift key, go all the way down, click, out here, click, up here, click, get to there and click. Oops, I started another one. Okay, so we're moving along really quickly here. Let's now hop over to the Lasso tool. I'm going to make this bigger so I can see what I'm doing. And remember, any tool that you're on, if you go to the space bar, you can move things around. Okay, so this part right here is actually part of the sculpture. So let's hold the Shift key and loop around there. Oh, darn, I went the wrong way. What I really wanted to do was to hold the Option key. And there we go. Very good. And I'm just going to trace around here and back, loop around. Notice how I just loop back. I don't try to make it all in one step either. And you know what? I can use the Polygonal Lasso tool there as well, so I'll switch back over to that tool, hold the Shift key again, just come down here. Whoa, I'm going crazy. Let's see what disaster I created with that. Ah, not too bad of a disaster. Back to the Lasso tool, and I can quickly just loop that and have it be gone, loop that and have it be gone. And continue with my Shift key, and I'm moving in little increments. Every little increment. Okay, so I didn't do too great of a job right there, so I think I'm going to do Command Z. You know I'm rushing. So I find it best if I take my time. And also notice one of the things with an object is wherever it sits, there's a shadow. So notice the shadow down here. We're going to recreate that. We could leave a little bit of it if we wanted to. But I'm just going to sit here and work my way around. The reason I'm doing these short little bursts is because they're easier to control. If I'm trying to do a great big long line, I just generally don't do as well with that. And I can kind of come back and say, oh, I didn't do too good of a job. Let's fix that a little bit more, take a little bit more off of it. So it's just a process. It takes time. And I'm going to continue along here. Well, I didn't like that one as much, so I'll just do Command Z and undo it. Shrink back a little bit. I was getting too greedy. Now this one isn't quite as straight looking as the other side. So I'm not hopping over to the Polygonal Lasso tool. I should right there though. I'm nearing the end here. Oh, that was a bad one. That didn't help it either. Command Z. One more try. Okay, let's shrink this down. You can see I need to just clean this up. Holding that shift key, just come down here, loop all the way around. One side quickly cleaned up. Looking good. Take my time through here because I got a little narrow. Okay, so there is the start of my selection. Let's see here. Let's make this bigger. Try to take a look at some of this stuff just to make sure we don't miss anything. And I'm still using my shift key to add to the selection. Get these little areas in there, add it in. Okay, you can see a little bit of refining still needs to be done here, a little bit here, a little bit more there. Did a pretty good job up top here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into the select and mask option where we can do some refining and we can kind of see what it's going to look like. Let's jump into here, select and mask. Okay, so we have these options over here of how we want to view it. And let's view it on black. And we can take this opacity all the way up or down, but it's our object, so let's invert it. There we go. Now we can see the object on black. So we hit the invert over here on the right-hand side. And you can see that I've got a little bit of a halo going around the image. Not too bad. Things that can be retouched. So what I need to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and shift the edge in. And it's going to pull the selection in a little bit. I'm going to smooth the edge a little bit. And you can see that it's starting to look a little bit better. Let's see if I shift it all the way. And I'm going to give it a slight little feather as well. It's looking pretty good. Now what's left I can easily retouch when I go back over to Photoshop. So at this point, I'm going to come in here to New Layer with Layer Mask. And it'll output a new layer with the layer mask. On our website, I put up a handout that takes you through what all the tools here in Select and Mask are. Some people start their whole process here. I like to start it outside and then come here for the finishing touches. I feel that I have a little bit more control with that. But if you're doing any kind of hair, this would be a good place to be exploring that. Whoops, where's my image going? By playing with these tools up here. The quick selection tool, then refining it with the refine edge brush tool. Two great tools for hair. And then this is just a retouching tool. Before I get into any of these, I would start there. So we kind of did that outside in Photoshop and brought it in. So let's hit OK. And let's create a new blank layer. And we're going to fill that layer with white. Oh, I filled it with black. White. Okay, I did a keyboard command. So Command Delete fills it with white because that's my background color. And if I did Option Delete, it fills it with black, which is my foreground color. So whatever color I had, foreground or background, that's just a shortcut. And I always do it the exact opposite, just like you saw me do, which is just my bad memory. But you guys will probably remember that a little bit better. So now that we have a layer mask here, if we wanted to touch something up, we would do it like we would with any other layer mask. We'd paint with our brush. And to get to my brush, I just hit B on my keyboard and black or white. So, you know, I can come in here and tweak this a little bit more if I wanted to even that up a little bit more, which I kind of did. And I can make the brush really tiny over here and, you know, take that in a little bit more also. My brush hardness here is at about 78%. So I don't have it at the total softness like I do for a lot of things I do in Photoshop because I'm trying to match what the edge is looking like. Just a quick look through. You can come in here and make any other like little fine adjustments that you want to make. That was getting ugly on my part. So let's tweak that up a little bit. Okay. So you can see you still have all the fine controls that you would in any way you work. So take the time to look at the little details. That's what's going to separate this project for you. Okay, looking pretty good. So right now, that's what it's looking like on white. Not too shabby. Now, let's take a look at the layer mask. To do that, if you hold the Option key and click on the layer mask itself, it takes you into the layer mask view. So you can look at it. You want to look and make sure that in the black areas you don't have any white, and in the white areas you don't have any black. So we've got pure black and white. It's a nice, clean mask. So that looks great. I don't need to do any touch-ups. But if I did need to, I could just paint with black or white here. So let's get out of there. Okay, so that's number one, the white background.